This week on my sewing journey, I've been working on chair pads. This pattern I made myself. I took some scrap paper and I laid it over my chair and taped it all together to get the size of the chair that I wanted to cover for just the seat part of it. It was like a kitchen chair. A dining room table chair type thing. And then, after I put it on there, I put my seam allowance in. I gave myself about the width of my finger on the outer edge, all the way around the pattern. So when I cut it and sew it, it's not too small. And then what I did was, because I like to do everything on the fold, I cut my fabric out, sewed it together, right sides facing together. Now, what I did was I left a large opening at the back of it. This will be at the back of the chair to get the foam in. It's very important that you give yourself, if you're using foam padding or even if you're just using quilt padding, if you give yourself a large opening to put that in. On the corners, before I turned it to the right side, I made little cuts so that this would lay a little flatter. Sorry about the camera movements here. So this would lay a little flatter. And then I made some straps. Now, with your straps, you have a choice of how wide you want them. If you want a 2-inch strap, you're going to cut 4 inches of fabric, so when you fold it, it'll be a 2-inch strap. And how long you want them. If you want to tie a bow in them, and make them longer, but I'm going to put mine with Velcro or hook and loop tape around the base of the chair to hold it in. So you sew those before you close this up to the bottom of your cushion. Then you'll put your foam in and sew it shut. Now you have an option before you go too far. Let's say you wanted a pretty ruffle like this one. You do the same thing that you do with the ties. If you want like a large ruffle, like a 4-inch ruffle, you'll cut 8 inches of fabric, fold it in half, sew it down one side, turn it to the right side, and then you'll gather it and you'll sew that onto your top fabric before you sew your backing on there. That way it covers up all the rough edges. Now, if you forgot to do that, you could, or if you changed your mind and said, hey, I'd like that ruffle after all, you could do it in the after. You just have to fold the fabric and sew it like a folded gather stitch all the way around, and it would just be on the top. You could do it though. Now, let's say you want a wider piece of foam than a thinner piece like I want. You would make the width of the foam, you take the foam, stand it up on its edge, and you're going to trace the width of that foam. Then next you're going to add the width of your finger to that paper tracing of the width of the foam, because you need a seam allowance, or otherwise it won't fit. And then what you would do is take your top fabric and you would sew the piece that's going to cover that side width of the foam all the way around your project. Then you take your bottom fabric, again, right sides facing together. You do the same thing, except for you're going to leave the opening for the foam to get in, and then you would just close it up by folding in the rough edges and sewing it shut. This is a fun project, and with the holidays coming up, it might be nice to have fancy chair pads. I hope you like the idea of this video. Thank you for joining me today, and happy sewing!